There was a special relationship between the students and the priest, and it was more than just as a teacher-student. They really cared about you. They really did. And we developed wonderful bonds.
I think as I look back, you know, you say during your lifetime, gee, if I had gone in this path instead of that path, things would have worked out differently. And so I've often felt if I hadn't gone that path, who knows where I would have been.
Remember, Jewish people couldn't get into Brown, so they went to PC.
I'm Jewish. I went to a Catholic institution. I could not have picked a better school. It was never brought to my attention I was Jewish. Why you here? I felt more Catholic than Jewish going to that school. But if I can leave you with anything, I just, to this day, my heart is for Providence College. Yep.
The question came, what are you going to name the place? And the first choice, the Dominican choice, was that you name it Bishop Harkins College. Harkins didn't want anything to do with that. So they agreed on Providence College, both having a religious connotation and locating the college in the city. When Bishop Harkins decided to establish a corporation, as he did for St. Vincent de Paul Infant Society, that used to be over on Regent Avenue, close to the college here. He would create a corporation that was basically non-sectarian. It would be a Catholic institution, right? It would have Catholic purpose and Catholic administration. But it would be welcoming of people of all religious denominations and races, creeds, ethnicities, or whatever it was. All right, that model that he created for St. Vincent de Paul Institution, Infant Society, was the model basically upon which the charter here at Providence College is based.
So, as my mother said, you eat at home, you sleep at home, you'll study at home, and you'll go to Providence College if they will take you in.
But the main thing was finances. Meaning, we went there not because of the finances, we went there because it was a great school. Then secondary, you could go because the money was not an issue in those days, like it is today.
Right.
Not an issue with us at all. Come aboard. What can I tell you?
So he applied to Providence College and was accepted. He was accepted around the time that his father passed away and realized that he wouldn't be able to do that. But at that time, it was a different college, and the president of the college was very available to students, and Bob went to see him. It was Father Dorr, who was a wonderful Dominican, and Bob went to see him and said that he appreciated the acceptance, but he would not be able to do it because there was no money, and there were 4 other children, and Father Dorr, of course, as I mentioned before, said that's okay, you go to class, you do well, you help to take care of your mother, and you will never have to pay anything to the college.
Growing up in a very, very poor family, college wasn't even a consideration. But a good friend of the family who had gone to college convinced me that was the proper thing to do, especially since I had the GI Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. And I selected Providence College, and the amount of money that I got through the GI Bill of Rights covered the expenses at tuition, what have you.
I know when he graduated from high school, he was looking at schools, and my dad was a real bright guy, and he kind of wanted to go to Brown at the time, because a couple of his friends were going there, but it was out of his price range. In fact, he couldn't afford to go to college at all right away. He took a year, or I think he might have taken 2 years off after high school and worked. And then he just, maybe 1 year, and then he decided to go to Providence because he knew it was a good college, but also it was something that with a little bit of help financially he could afford.
As I say, my father, having gone to Brown, wanted me to go to Brown. My father had to leave in his sophomore year. He went into, he enlisted in World War I. And so anyway, I went up to see the dean, and the dean said, well, Hoffman, everything is okay. Your grades are all right. Your extracurricular activities are fine, but our quota for this year is filled. I said, what do you mean by your quota? He said, well, we only take a certain number of Jewish students each year. So I went home and I told that to my father. He said he would make a call. And I said, you make the call, you go. Because I won't go there.
In Providence, in Rhode Island, I should say, when you went to a doctor, and you were talking about, you go see how you sit in the doctor's office, you look up at the diplomas. Remember, Jewish people couldn't get into Brown, so they went to PC.
We live right in front of a big hill that goes from Tyndall to Huxley, and I would see a lot of Jewish boys. I knew they were Jewish boys because they didn't wear yarmulkes, but they wore soft hats to school, and they'd be walking, always dressed beautifully, walking up Huxley Avenue to go to Hawkins Hall, because that was the only place at that time where there were classes, was Hawkins Hall.
But the Jewish area was actually from Eaton Street going to Davis Park, or Chuckstone Avenue, and going down Smith Street, but not too far because it changed over the years, and then up to Tyndall Avenue. And that was the Jewish center of the North End. And I think Providence, it doesn't exist today. And I think that's why a lot of the fellows I went to school with, we were day hops. And because of that, we came from the area, it was just around the corner.
So it's in the aftermath of that surge of anti-Catholicism. Why anti-Catholicism? Because we had such a wave of immigrants, right? That was changing the face of the country. What the Klan was a reactionary movement. They wanted to preserve America that they knew back in the turn of the century. They didn't want to see America, the face of America change, all right, as it is changing today.
But, you know, at that time it was, you're a Christ killer. And the same thing with the North End, those kids, those young people who went to Hebrew school. They knew that at a certain time there'd be gangs waiting for them, and so there'd be a fist fight or something, or they'd somehow. But it wasn't vicious like some of the things. No one had guns and knives. They had fists, and somebody would end up with a bloody nose.
Yeah. And do you remember whether you might have had to indicate whether you were Jewish during the application process?
It wasn't even an issue.
Yeah.
That was not an issue, and that should be put down. Being Jewish was not an issue to go to Providence College.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Never an issue.
At this point?
No.
I do remember, I guess, one other incident that certainly wasn't as funny at that point, but nor did I take it that seriously, although I do remember it, that when I was running, I think for vice president of our class, I was walking through the dorms, and my opponent was in one of the other rooms talking to the other people in the dorms, and I overheard him being asked, well, who's running against you? And he named me. He said, that Jewish kid from the east side. So that incident I remember also.
You always felt uncomfortable being Jewish with him. He'd look at you, he kind of, when he'd call, he kind of like mispronounce a Jewish name a little, and he was too smart for that. You know after a while. So, you just did your studies, kept your mouth shut, and got through it. But see, I don't care who you are, whatever your background is. If you've been subjected to or experienced or have knowledge of discrimination, and you're with certain groups, you sense it. They don't have to come out and say it. You just know it.
Cooled down. A couple of days later, I took the streetcar up to PC, and I got off and I see the Gothic architecture, and I see all the crosses, and I say, oh boy. But at that time, the dean was a Father Foley. And when I walk in, he says, Hoffman, classes start the first day of Rosh Hashanah, and I don't expect to see you in the holidays. When the holidays are over, you come in, I'll have your books and your classes all set for you. And he and I, over the years, became very good friends.
You're here.
I have one very fond memory. On the first Friday I was here, I went into the cafeteria to buy my lunch and asked for a hamburger. And I was asked, do you know it's Friday? And that jogged my memory. I said, I guess I do. I'll have a tuna fish sandwich.
I could never afford
Yeah.
living on campus. I commuted by hitchhiking.
So there was no good public transportation between Fall River and Providence.
Oh, it was a bus, there was
Yeah.
a train.
Yeah. It was easier to hitchhike.
Well, it was cheaper.
Yeah.
True.
Very true.
There was a place to park your car. And I remember one time I parked it and I got a ticket. They had a sign up. So when I went to pay the $1 fine, they said, you don't have to pay because you're Jewish. If you weren't Jewish, we'd have charged you $1. We just want to show you how nice we are. We won't charge you anything.
Really?
That pleased me.
And the first class I had at Providence College was an English class taught by Father Fennel, Fennel, I believe. And the second class was a class in logic taught by Father Parada, who also made a great difference in my life.
I enjoyed sitting in on the religious classes they had there, and got a lot of information from that, as well as they asked me certain things about my religion as compared to the other.
Yeah, we went to all the parties there. In fact, I gave an exhibition there once with skates. I had another partner, and I would twirl a girl around. She put her feet on my neck and on my partner's neck, and we'd spin around.
Wow.
And his father came, and he said, after the act, everybody clapped. And he said, now Mr. Scholes is going to do a spectacular at it. And he brings out a little table, he puts it on the stage, and he said, Mr. Scholes is going to go up on the skates and do a tap dance on the table. I said, yes, I'll be glad to do it, but I'll only do it after I see you do it.